depending on where and when you are listening to this. Hope you're all well, whatever you're doing. We're going to be doing things a little bit different tonight. The whole concept of tonight is to be infotaining, and this is a joint webinar between the power of Espresso with Dan and the glory of email players subscribers. We are going to do things a little bit different. So we're just to get things, let's just say the practical things teed up. Now, for those of you who have done webinars with me before, hello, welcome again. What's up? Those of you who haven't, this is what we normally do. So usually in my group we have a thread where we have all of the questions and answers that you can ask me and Ben throughout the webinar. However, Ben has a paid group, I have a paid group, and as you are a paying member of our world, we don't want to give anyone who's not paying the glory. So if you go to either my wall, and I am facebook.com/dan.meredith.77 if you're friends with me, or if you go to Ben's wall. Do you know your email tag, Ben? I can probably find it if you want.
Yeah, it's facebook.com/emailplayer.
There we go. So you've got email player and dan.meredith.70. Yours is way cooler than mine. So
it
what
is,
we're going to say,
but that's just how it goes.
That thread, okay, if you can just comment on that thread, it's tagged on Ben's, it's tagged as mine, just say hello, let us know where you're from, let us know a little bit about yourself. That we are not going to be accepting any questions on GoToWebinar because I like to pace around when I do this, and I've got it on my phone. I can see what's happening, mainly because we want to make this as interactive as possible. Me and Ben can talk for hours, and we can also, we're also really good bitches at times. So if you ever catch us in public, in private, sorry, you can have some really good fun. But we are public, Dan and Ben now. Ben, please introduce yourself. Obviously, your subscribers know who you are. Mine pretty much know, but to anyone listening who's maybe new to our world, Ben, tell us about yourself and why I have a weird man crush on you.
Well, you know, it has been a year since I got to bitch slap your group with Tega that one time when you were on a plane. I got to lecture them, and they were kind of like a captive audience for me. But I'm basically Dan's master. I was the one who introduced him to certain principles and certain people, right? I mean, you know, I worked
you, my
hard.
friend, yeah, 100%. Yeah. You are the catalyst to my success, and I'm very, very happy to say that.
I say that, okay, and there was a time, right, when you were working. I mean, you still work hard, but you were working hard to, you can't not emulate me, but you were trying to kind of go the direction I'm going in business, and now it's kind of switched around. Now I'm learning from you about certain things, especially like the Facebook group stuff, and we were talking about memes yesterday. So it's kind of, you and I have gotten to this point where, you know, you're certainly no longer the student anymore. We're colleagues now. I mean, I look to you for advice and answers, and vice versa, and we always have a good interplay. And so I think this is going to be a lot of fun.
And for those of you who are Ben's world who don't know me, so Ben is how he is online. He's in real life. He's a really, really fun, entertaining, and interesting gentleman. Big fan of his work. Obviously, in total honesty, Ben opened the doors with Ryan Levesque, which got me to it with him. And that's when my career took off. So I've always had a big thing for Ben. Huge fan of his way of copywriting. You know, I've done the whole old school way of learning copy, but I keep reverting back to my email player's Bible. That literally, I have one bag. For those who don't follow me on social media, I have a single bag and email players. That spiral bound. Mate, I am going to need to buy a new one off you soon because it is fucked. But it goes with me everywhere. It is my Bible. It's what I reference. But me and Ben have very different ways of working, but they're very synergistic. So tonight is all about infotainment, and this is what I learned from you. So we're going to start off probably a little more professional, a bit more structured. We've got a plan that we're going to work to. This will freeform. It could last 40 minutes. It could last 3 hours. You never know with me and Ben, which is part of the fun. So you taught me the value of infotainment. For those people who are listening who've not really grasped that concept yet, what is it?
Okay, so this is something that you're basically merging information entertainment, and the single best description I've ever heard of this came from the actor Alan Alda, who played Hawkeye in the TV show MASH. So I know that you probably have more millennials in your audience than I do, so some of your audience may not know what MASH is, but it was a comedy that lasted a long time. Well, there was a show called 60 Minutes. There still is a show called 60 Minutes. Back in the day, it was founded by this guy named Don Hewitt. And for its time, it was a completely unique thing. It was not hard news. It kind of mixed the two. So when Don Hewitt died, this is back in 2009, they asked Alan Alda what made 60 Minutes such a blockbuster, because people don't realize this, but all of today's cable news like Fox and CNN and MSNBC, they're all infotainment. None of that stuff is hard news. It's all mixing entertainment with information. And what he said was, he goes, the reason it was so popular and why even today everyone's trying to emulate 60 Minutes, the model of it, is because they gave you a hot dog that nourished you like broccoli. So a hot dog looks fun. It does not look healthy. It looks like, ooh, this is, a guilty pleasure. I can eat this hot dog and slather crap on it and eat it and all that. And that's fine. So it looks appealing at first glance. It doesn't look like something that's going to turn you off. But it still gives you a little bit of nourishment, just a little bit of nutrients like broccoli would, which makes you feel satisfied eating it and you want more of it. So you're still getting the junk food fix, but you're also getting a little bit of good stuff. And that's the big appeal of it.
And the thing is, there's a line I use, and I hate saying this because I had some great teachers when I was younger, but in the profession, so you've got doctors, engineers, architects, anyone with a professional degree, the type of person who's supposed to give you a reference on a home loan or rental application. As I found out, I don't know anyone of good standing the other day, which is a little bit worrying. I was just like, oh fuck, all my friends are degenerates. But teachers are some of the lowest paid professions going. Even though they do phenomenal work, they don't get paid really compared to what others do. Compared to, let's just say, someone who is more, think about an entertainer, a pop star, a footballer, a social media celebrity, a god-awful, I don't know, C-list celebrity gets paid infinitely more just for doing, basically just entertaining stuff. And the bridge, I think me and you cross quite nicely, is that infotaining bridge, because yes, we try and give out some really good information, but we're not fucking boring. We're not, this is when you say in your email players, we're not hard teaching, are we?
No, and it's funny because the original title that you'd cooked up for this webinar, we first started talking about, was how to be fucking interesting. Okay, and that really is what it comes down to at the very end of the day. That's what you're trying to be.
And that's it. Like, being interesting is not that hard. I mean, seriously, it sounds crazy patronizing how I'm saying it, but one of the things I learned from you, and I always do this, give credit, but happily got this idea from you, I'm sure you obviously learned from elsewhere, is the morning routine. One of the biggest things that I do now, so I start my day, and we're going to talk about, about how we do our days, how we learn things, what we do to be interesting. But one of the things I do is I set my day up every day to be as interesting and informative as I can. I go on 9gag, which is just a meme website, hence I'm a meme fiend, for a good 30 to 45 minutes every morning. I watch maybe an hour of stand-up comedy. I'll listen to a comedy podcast. I'll read some fiction. So I'm basically doing stuff that makes me more humorous and entertaining from the moment I start my day. What do you do, Ben? So I know you're similar, but yours, I like your style.
Yeah, well, for me, it's really, and I can't say this will work for everybody, because if somebody's inherently boring, this won't work. But I have a crappy attention span. Like, it takes a lot to keep my attention, which is a good and bad thing. But it's great for copywriters to have a bad attention span, because all I do is I'm amusing myself every day, and I don't mean it in feeding the geese type of way. I mean, I'm amusing myself every day. When I write emails, whenever I post stuff in my Facebook group, whatever I'm doing, it's for my own amusement. If other people happen to be amused by it, that's great. If they don't, I don't give a crap. My amusement rolls downhill, the way I see it, and that's just the approach I have. I don't need to get in the mood anymore, just because this stuff is so ingrained in me. I've seen so many. Like, what you do is actually a really good idea. Like, watch some Seinfeld, whatever. It's all I do in my off time as it is, so my brain is just full of this stuff, and it's combining different things, and I notice things, and like, I'll bust someone's balls or whatever and have fun doing it, and somebody busts my balls, I'll have fun with that, and I'll use it as an email or something. And you just got to stuff your brain and your subconscious with this stuff, and it'll start seeping out in weird ways.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You said going back in the day when I was just working. I was old school, getting up 5, 6 in the morning, working till 9, 10 at night, 6 days a week. And you know what? I still believe that was one of the best things that I've done, because I learned my craft very quickly, and I soon learned that I didn't want to fucking do this forever. So it's a twofold win on that one. But I found when I was studying, marketing books and copywriting and, and your stuff and stuff from Ryan and breakthrough advertising and all this kind of stuff, I ended up being a boring fucker. I was just, my posts were mechanical. If you want to get better at this, do that. You know, here's a hack, I fucking hate that word, for this particular thing. I dropped all the stuff that made me down, which was reading fiction, which was watching, you know, films and sitcoms and comedy. And so few people do the stuff that makes them interesting in the first place. They let that slip. It's like the stuff you stop when you grow up, and it's like, oh, I'm cool now. I don't do that anymore. Well, actually, that's the kind of stuff that makes you different. And so many people drop the stuff that makes them unique and interesting, and they try and clone. I mean, how many people try and copy, like almost word for word, your style of writing? I know a handful of people I've seen their posts. I'm like, did Ben write this?
Well, you know, you just gave me an interesting thought for this, and I think that you just touched on something that's very, very true, that people kind of forget this, and it's the things that got you beat up and stuffed in a locker in high school that you need to be doing now. It's the way you behaved back then, the obnoxiousness and all that. It didn't work good back then. People just weren't at that level mentally, but now adults crave it. They absolutely crave it. Nobody goes home. Very few people go home and say, let me read this boring textbook. No, they go home and watch TV because they're all looking to be entertained. People are craving it like it's a drug. You know, it is a drug. It's a dopamine drip. It really is. You entertain somebody once, and now you got a little dopamine drip in your brain. Now you want more of that. That's why the best comedians like Bill Burr, for example, why people just get addicted to listening to him. And that's how it will be in your marketing if you do it right.
Well, here's a great case in point. Now, I want to just ask a question to audience. We've got 60 of you on here, and we've got more and more people coming in. So obviously on my feed, dan.meredith.77, or Ben's, facebook.com/email player, which I do love, player. I love it. There is a feed there. That is the Q&A feed. So don't post any questions in GoToWebinar. Pop it on the feed. Okay, seriously now, genuine question to you, because we're going to ask this. Firstly, any questions you have as you go along, whack them on the feed. It's live in front of me right now. But what have you given up? What have you stopped doing that made you you? I'll share some of mine. Some of these are proper geeky, okay? Happily used to paint Warhammer Space Marines, okay? Do you have Space Marines in the States? Do you have Warhammer? Is that something you have out there?
Dude, I have no idea what that is. Yeah, I know about as much about that as what you knew about social distortion 5 minutes ago.
Okay, so it's like little, like 2-inch high metal space warriors, and I used to paint them and play tabletop games like Dungeons and Dragons in space but with bigger guns, and I still want to grow up and be a Space Marine, which is actually a meme I use right now. I stopped reading fantasy books, so fantasy books about science fiction, big Terry Pratchett fan, you know, kind of crime thrillers. I stopped reading these things. I stopped watching as many films and sitcoms as I do. I was really into kind of factual stuff, which is great. And do you know what? I let all the stuff that made me a little bit different. I used to like make jewelry. I used to paint. You know, I'm alpha as fuck, Ben. I have to say that in a really aggressive way to sound super alpha. But all these things I used to do, I'd stopped doing, and I just became really, really quite boring. So what have you stopped? Anyone's listening is like, what have you stopped? Another thing is like we like similar music in a way, but I used to stop listening to metal. I was a proper little metalhead when I was younger. Loved it, and I kind of hid it a bit because metal was, you know, some of the metalheads do dress a little bit funky, to be honest with you, and I want to dress a little bit more stylish. But I actually love that music. So, I mean, what did you drop, Ben, since when you were now brought back in?
Well,
Stuff you said wasn't cool to start off with.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think one of the reasons I got, if you want to call it success, whatever, is faster than all my peers did when I first started this business is because I never did stop that stuff. I've always been this like comic book geek, and like I can watch the same freaking movie 20 times straight. I do it all the time. I can watch the same movie over, and I like it. I never gave up that because everybody else.
What's your movie? Mine's Goodfellas. I'm on my Goodfellas and Aliens. It comes on my TV. I own them. They're on my MacBook. They're on my phone, and I have them on DVD. Yet it comes on TV, and I'll sit and watch it even through adverts. Fucking idiots.
Well, I'll tell you, dude. I am a huge fan of Aliens and Goodfellas, but I would say lately my movie's been Wolf of Wall Street. I watch it at least twice a week. Twice a week.
Isn't that so? So anyone listening, if you have not watched Wolf of Wall Street now, you may or may not agree with Justin Belfort, and this is a true story, Ben. I got offered a position to write for Justin Belfort as his copywriter, where about a year and a half, 2 years ago, when I was still doing Just Copy. And the thing is, and they asked me to submit, it was like a sales page and a 10 email sequence. I'm like, fuck that, I'm already charging like, like, okay, 12 grand please, that'd be not a problem. So I did pass on that one, but The Wolf of Wall Street is one of those films that if you are, all right, let's just face it, he was a bit of a naughty boy. But as someone who pushes the limits of excess and success, that film fires you up. And if male or female, whatever you like doing, excuse my language, but to Ben's people, you may not know me, I apologize, this is who I am. The idea of fucking on $1 million is very appealing to me. I love that scene more than that. And the,
I was just going to say this. The thing about that movie is, and it's not like a how-to movie. It's a cautionary tale. It's a what not to do movie in a lot of ways. But like here, if you have this like skill, don't do this. Don't sit there and get high on 10 different types of drugs every day of the week, and have sex with hookers 6 days a week, and be proud of the fact that you're about to be indicted by the FTC and all this stuff. Like it's a lifestyle that looks like, oh, that's cool, but it's really a cautionary tale. I mean, the guy loses everything at the end. He loses it all. I mean, that's not a good thing. So, I don't know. To me, it's a cautionary tale, and it's entertaining, naturally entertaining in a lot of ways. In fact, I just got the book because I love the movie, so I had to get the book. The book's even better so far than the movie. It's amazing.
But see, most people, so like we've talked there about there's certain films, there are certain people that you will follow, that you are fascinated by, that interested you. And here's a great case in point. Now, I love testing things. I know you do too, Ben. So I'll do a video and I'll get, let's just say 1,000 views. As an average, if I do a normal one on my personal wall, about 1,000 views. On Friday, we had Tager, who's my right-hand man, who runs Planet Dan, and we have Mike Samuels, who who is my right-hand man in the copywriting business, fitness copywriter. And a friend of ours called Heath sent us. He's a jampreneur. He's now gone into the jam business. Also, worst one, I saw a truthpreneur the other day. That's a new one I've just heard. But he's a jampreneur, and I love it. So basically, he sells these hot, spicy jams. There's like blueberry bonnet, and there's like habanero this. And we had a teaspoon of jam each, up the scale of the hotness, to the point Tager, he's got like a mouth like lead. He can just eat anything. Me, on the other hand, I was sweating my tits off by the third one, or the last one I wanted to cry. Nearly 2,500 views now. So you've got 3 people in marketing, in business, in all of that sort of world stuff, yet the thing that people bond to, that they love us about, is us eating spicy food and seeing me in pain. Ridiculous.
I'd like to see it. That's, and who doesn't want to see somebody in pain? All right. It's, pain is your pal in marketing. And I think, in fact, we're talking about infotainment. Sometimes pain is, I know it sounds weird and kind of back-ass words, but writing about a really, really nasty pain, like I always tell people, don't look up TURP surgery, T-U-R-P. Don't Google TURP surgery. I'm telling you not to Google it. If you're a guy and you Google TURP surgery, do not complain to me about the nightmares you have and how you're squirming around in your chair for the next
don't Google, it's another one, don't Google blue waffle either.
And watch, everybody's going to start Googling this stuff.
I'm so very sorry, everyone.
I told them not to do it, man. That's all we can say.
Don't do it.
But is that not, like, isn't that entertainment in its own way? It's so freaking extreme, and it can be, a pain can be, for whatever reason, we like to see people in pain. And I don't know if that's a good or bad thing.
I'm totally open with this. Let's just say, had a you did accuse me of, I think, turning vegan or something the other day, but I did have, I've stopped drinking. It was a part of my life for a good 20 years. In the UK, we start drinking a little bit earlier here, kind of in our early teens, really. And it's very, drinking is a big part of British culture, and it's been a part of my life for about 20 years. And I've had enough. I was drinking, a little bit too much, and I thought, enough's enough. I'm going to stop. So I shared that with my audience. It is, it is not a positive. It was a positive and a negative. I talked through all the bad things that happened, the fuck ups that I'd had, the near misses I'd had through drinking. Yet by telling that story, I had nearly 700 likes, 400 comments, 20 plus shares. I was sharing my pain, and virtually to this day, Benjamin, to this day, I thought I was having a heart attack outside Buckingham Palace. Okay, when you get the memories on your Facebook, I'm like, oh good, I'm reminded of that time I thought I was going to die. So I'd taken on too much work. I was hyper stressed, and I was walking along and I sort of like had 20-pound dumbbells in my hands, and then all of a sudden I thought, oh, that feels weird. I can hear my own heartbeat outside of my body. And I thought, oh, fuck, I'm having a heart attack. Turned out it wasn't. It was just general stress, too much workload. But that was me in pain. And I shared that with my group. It's interesting. I am one of them. I'm an entrepreneur, a copywriter, business owner, whatever you want to call me. And I'm going through some shit. My life is not all roses. So infotaining doesn't have to be funny and humorous and, yay, look at this. It can be, holy shit balls, my life is fucked.
Yes, but there's okay, so we say this, okay, but there's something, and especially the chicks listening to this have got to hear this, because
Oh,
they're
God.
all freaking guilty. I mean, you have to understand something here. And yes, I am picking on girls right now. Just fucking deal with it. So, and guys will do this, and they're acting like girls when they do this. So I actually wrote a blog post called "Don't Let Facebook Steal Your Balls," and that's what I'm going to talk about here. If you're going to talk about the stuff that happened to you, like something bad, like you did, like you did it in a way, but you weren't being a victim about it. And this is what people got to stop being, as a freaking victim about it, looking for sympathy, because you'll get it. You'll get 1,000 probably likes and high fives if you try to become a victim by your close friends and all that, but nobody's going to buy from you. Nobody wants to buy from a victim. So if you're going to share the pain and all that, do it like Dan does it. He's not acting like a victim doing it. In fact, there's often a lesson to it.
Lesson from it.
Yeah,
and
there's a lesson to it.
If you, okay, no one likes that you call the States a Debbie Downer. I'm just calling it, no one likes a twat. Okay, that's the UK version. So no one wants a miserable twat on their feed. It's okay to share these, like, it's still interesting. And this is human beings, okay, something you've got to understand about being entertaining is you as a human are fucked up, okay? You love the positive stuff, but you really love the negative stuff. You love the gossip, everyone does. It is human nature. It's that, like,
that's why the National Enquirer is so popular. It's just gossip. It's celebrity gossip.
The whole thing, you do something right and people will tell, I think, 2 people, like a good service, do something bad, they'll tell 8. I can't remember the statistic, but it's like, it's nearly 3 or 4 times as much people love to talk about the negative than the positive. But the reason, I mean, mine's more social media, Ben's obviously better, email, great copyright, full stop, is it's not always negative. I'm mixing up humor and maybe some teaching. Then there might be something entertaining. Today, I just posted a picture of a boxing club that I'm now going to join. I'm going to start fighting again. Like, it's just your audience, whatever it is you're doing, even if you're selling the most tedious widget on the planet, like, you're still selling to another human being. Now, I've spoke about my dad before. I'm going to go off a bit of a tangent here. So my dad, okay, he's 66. He's a legendary old goat. I call him Big Papa Nige. He is old school, charming, and he's cheeky. But the reason is my dad took time to get to know everyone in the company, from like the cleaner to the admin staff to the front of house desks to, management to the owners, okay? And my dad was interesting because he listened to them. So this is a key part of being infotaining, is listening to your audience and listening to whoever you're talking to and matching the content to their interests. Would you agree, Ben?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the key, because at the end of the day, if you're going to sell somebody something, you have to be in their world. You can't. You can bring them into your world, but you have to do it in a way where it's still there. You have one foot. At least they feel like it's their world, and that's the whole thing at reality TV too, right? Like, people like to be voyeurs, and that's what you're letting them be.
And that's the thing. Like, for those of you who are maybe a little bit wary of doing this, I'm going to tell you what I mean. Okay, how many shitty emails or messages would you say you get a week, Ben? Average week.
Yeah, couple hundred.
Really? Fucking hell, Ben. Okay, but you're not afraid to be you, but there is a handful of people, you are one of them, I'm not just saying that on the call, there's a handful of people, you, Ryan Lee, Doberman Dan, Kevin Rogers, there's a handful of people in my world who I will always open their emails because I never know what shit you're going to come out with next. And that's part of the thing. It is it's the whole cliffhanger thing. It is keeping people always want to know what you're up to next. Like, for example, most people, I'm a big fan of pivoting. I'll be doing one thing, then fuck it. Literally I'll be cycling along and I will stick a stick in my own front wheel just to throw chaos into the mix. And I'm going to do something different next. Like, I think if you keep your audience guessing, if you're not, who, I mean, Christ, we've all been emailed by people who do the same message, the same pitch every day. How boring is that?
It is, it reminds me of like if you're fighting somebody, right? If you punch someone in the face, they're going to start guarding their face, but then you can hit them in the stomach and that's not being guarded. That's kind of how, I mean, I don't mean to say you want to beat your customers up, but you want to keep them off balance where they think they're about to get kicked in the gut and you hit them in the teeth instead, and vice versa. And you keep them off balance and you throw them around. And they never know what's coming next. And that is what keeps people interesting. Now, I'm not saying you want to physically abuse them for what as you would call someone a plum. But that literally,
That's a fantastic word.
But yeah, that's what I'm talking. I mean, that's the exact same thing. Every day has to be something. What people do wrong. So if we're talking about geeking out and how we did stuff when we were teenagers, I used to watch a lot of Star Trek, and I'll never forget those first few seasons of The Next Generation. They did the Borg episodes just right. You only got a little bit here, and they didn't have a Borg every episode. Then the Voyager did that shit at the end of their run, and it got boring. So you can never, even if you do something cool, don't keep doing it every day forever. Make
It's
a
like
catalog
a list with a sale. Like, for example, you have pretty much one product, it's your main product, email players, that is constantly throughout your emails. But it's a variation. You're talking about different things. You've got stories. You've got maybe a lesson. I personally love it when someone emails you back. My favorite ones are the rants about people who want to unsubscribe. Because, forgive me, to anyone listening who finds this offensive, those people are fucktards. I'm sorry, but there is no other word. It's like, please unsubscribe me from your list. I'm sick of your emails. It's like, it's really quite big at the bottom. Just click that button there. Never mind.
Dan, I just had this happen to me today. I posted in my Facebook group. This guy was swearing at me, F-bombs, all this crap. And so I just emailed him back. I said, look, I can't keep you on a list if you opt out, or maybe you're just stupid. Like there's only one of the two things. And I looked his record up, and he'd been on my list for 2 years. So in 2 years, this guy couldn't figure out how to click an unsubscribe link. It's not complicated. That guy will be made an example of in a future email. I promise you.
Which is a beautiful thing, and that's the point, because no one knows what you're going to do next. Like, I mean, I've been part of, this is something I realized from being sold too well myself. If someone has captivated my interest, has made me laugh, made me think, maybe they've challenged my opinion and we've discussed it, but if I've had an emotional connection or reaction to them, and it's generally humor. I'm a big fan of the Dan Kennedy line, people buy more in good spirits.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I like to make people laugh and smile, and I am completely 100% open to making an enormous cock of myself in the nature of making other people laugh. Like, for example, last night, okay? This is going to be a story of a great email. The croupier happened to be very attractive, which is always a bonus, but I went to the casino. Now, I've become a pretty good blackjack dealer, so I'm over 7 or 8 times at the tables. I'm about $11,000 up, which isn't bad for card-based gambling. Now, yeah. I happily tell people this. I do well online, I do well in person, but I've had a mastermind down with me, staying with me in my home, 6 people for the last 2.5 days. And it's been great fun. And I said, well, when it ended our night, last night's going to go to casino, you can see me in action. And I could not have been shitter. I couldn't have had worse hands. It couldn't have been more fucking terrible if I tried. And it got to the point where I was laughing and giving her money, just literally pissing myself laughing, knowing every hand, no matter how well I played, I was losing. She's laughing, the kind of pit boss is laughing, people around the table are laughing. So it took literally 200 quid just gone, and I'm just like, fuck it, I'm just going to make it, there's no point being upset about it. I just make people laugh. And you know what? That's the kind of thing you need to do. Like, even your pain can be made humorous, and it's being I think, not afraid enough to actually show your human side, show your vulnerable side, show your asshole side, just try and think, if I'm the other person reading this, and this is the phrase, I call it, my shit test is if I was reading this, what would I think? And if I read it and I'm like, oh, what if I'm just selling something, or if it's boring, or the story doesn't go anywhere, I just tank it and start again.
Yeah, a good person to model for what you just said, for taking things that happen bad and making it funny, and this to me, this was the greatest entertainer in my humble but always accurate opinion, was Johnny Carson. Nobody, I mean, you just go to YouTube and just YouTube Johnny Carson monologues, and you will get a world-class education for free. This guy lived a miserable life, okay, but he entertained the hell out of everyone, every 20 million people every night. I mean, he went through like 3 divorces. Every single one of them was turned into jokes. You know, lost a whole bunch of money here and there. Do you know that dude almost got killed by the mafia? The mafia actually put a hit out on him. Yeah, the mafia put a hit on him because after his second, I think it was his second divorce, he went out there and started, you know, playing the field again, and he hit on the head of the mob's wife, or girlfriend, actually.
That
And
is not smart.
probably his girlfriend, not his wife, but, you know, because the wives, what is it, what's Goodfellas? Wives are for Fridays and girlfriends are Saturdays, but so he did that, and the only reason they didn't kill him was because the Italian-American parade was that week, and they didn't want to have the bad publicity, so, you know, but I don't know if you ever joked about that one, but I'm just saying, he did take things, whether it be drinking or divorce or whatever it was, he could turn it, you know, the most depressing stuff into something entertaining and that made people laugh.
Okay, ladies and gents, we're going to listen to a humorous song that I found. Ben, you will love this. I saved this for this. So what we're going to do is, on my wall or Ben's wall, we've got a feed going. Leanne is on there. Ask us some questions. So we've got about another 30 minutes of content to go, but I want to have you ask me and Ben any questions about infotainment. We're going to be talking about pattern interrupts, some actual tactics, how we go about doing it in our copy. I'm going to talk a little bit about how I do it in live streams and videos. We're going to take 60 seconds, and we're going to talk about the concept. So the song is going to talk about the concept of men and women just being friends. 60 seconds on the feed. Give us your questions. Go.
They call me up on the phone and ask me to come over and cuddle.
You'll love this one, Ben.
I heard you like it.
You must want me or else you'd be a little more subtle.
45 seconds, ladies and gents. We charge a shit ton for this.
My lap is where you decide to rest your head, and just as I'm about to make my move, you say, you're my straight gay friend, my straight gay friend. You're closer to me than the rest of those men. Too sweet to try to get in my pants. I appreciate you not trying to advance, and I say, don't mention it, I'm here for you, but the subtext is damn it, my balls are blue. I can't believe I just got a JVM again. Another let's just be friends.
What did you think of that, Ben? That is Let's
approved.
Just Be Friends by Alex Lewis.
I loved it. I mean, I think every I think every guy should listen to it.
Honestly, is the line about, like, I can't remember the last time that happened to me. I was trying to explain to my female friend who's staying here, who stayed with us, sorry, at the mastermind, the concept of bed tax the other day, which we had a house full of rugby and football players at university, and if any girl wanted to stay, we just said, yeah, you've got to pay bed tax, and you can use your own imagination as to what that is. But I'm an equalist. I have a bed. If you want to share my bed, there is a levy you must pay. Equally, we have four
wait,
in the house.
hold on a second. Wait a minute. You let him sleep on your bed. That's what the couch is for, man. I mean,
That's just what I said. We said there's 4 couches, or if you wish for a
okay.
bed, there
All
is
right,
a small tax
I
that
thought you
is
were being
applicable.
horse-cookie. Okay, never mind.
Oh,
Carry
no,
on.
Benjamin. Oh, no, Benjamin. But, okay, so, ladies and gents, okay, so we're going to answer some of your questions. Even doing what I did just then is infotaining. We're in the middle of a training. I pause to play something silly that is going to make you smile, make you think about something different, and set up a very inappropriate discussion about bed tax, which I don't really have in a public forum. But this is the thing. Your audience do want to be entertained. They said, Ben, you've got a low attention span. So have I. You need to keep mixing things up. And that's why we want you to interact with us, why we're talking to you, why we're sharing stories from our past. So, Ben, I'm just going to go. We will answer all the questions. I'm just going to pluck out a nugget here, and then we're going to get back into that. Here we go then. Let's just find a good one. Okay, Kat Halushka, I like this one. Hey, Kat. She did okay, Kat is a legend. I did a post. Here's a great. We did a post in Coffee Down earlier. Just because I've got a little project going on, and it's like, what things as an entrepreneur can you not live without? And mine was like my iPhone, coffee and nootropics, my notepad, and a Swiss Army knife. And she had something similar, and she said she also had a tampon to throw at mush cookies, which I thought was brilliant. But her question is, how do you find a good balance in the voice? Not too monotone, not too enthusiastic. The point sounds fake. She says English is her second language, and she finds them to sound the same. So basically, how do you strike the balance when it comes to being too much of an entertainer and really giving no value, and being that kind of hard teacher? Here are the facts. Here are 73 things for an optimized copy.
Yeah, I don't believe in ever going monotone. I think the minute you go monotone, you've lost people. There may be exceptions to this depending on what market you're in, but there's a radio talk show guy that I think everyone should listen to. He's very very right wing like I am. So if you're kind of a liberal, just suck it up, be a man, listen to his stuff, because you don't have to agree with his politics, but the way he tells stories and the way he will switch from maniac guy to suddenly he's kind of calm. But it's not. I don't think it's an act for him. I think that's just how he is. And I think wherever you're doing, just right in your personality. Do you always talk a certain way when you're talking to people? No. You get excited by something, you're going to raise the emotion a little bit. Maybe it's not so exciting, you're going to lower it a little bit. But you don't ever want to go monotone. You never want to get boring. And I can understand that English being the second language, there's things lost in the translation. But Dan, if I was trying to write into another language that wasn't really comfortable for me yet, I would use that to my advantage. I would purposely butcher words and stuff. I would make no apology for it. And believe me, you will crack people up. There's a story I heard about this guy named Sean Fury, who's Matt Fury's brother. And he told the story about how the best salesman that ever came to the organization, and he sold the most, was a guy who would butcher every word. He had no sense of grammar. Like the guy, they were cracking up the whole time, but they all bought from him because he was so real. So use that to your advantage. Make the skeleton dance.
Okay, here's a great one. I'm going to come to a more cool one, which we're going to love. But this is quite, because obviously we're in the information and coaching kind of space, so it's a little different. Someone, where is it? Mike Renard said, "Can you talk about selling physical products in a relatively non-emotional market?" So that's our widgets. That's our our things to, let's just say, maybe less than exciting people. So let's just say we've got the infamous widget. We're selling B2B, traditionally quite dry and humorless. What would you do to inject a bit of spice? I know what I'd do.
Well, I've sold them B2B. I don't do anything different. In fact, Dan Kennedy, I don't know if this is Dan Kennedy's Ultimate Sales Letter book or not, but this is where I learned this from. He said he had this client who sold like electrical parts for some machine. Like you couldn't think of anything more boring than this, right? Mm-hmm. And he decided to do he sent a sales letter out to people saying 69 things you can do to your wife when you're done installing your part or whatever. It was, but this guy Barry Maher said it best. He goes, if you're ever losing someone's attention, just talk about sex or dating. You'll get it right.
If you have a good relationship, my dad, so going back to Big Papa Nige again, the legendary old goat, he once sent an email out, honest as fuck. I mean, my dad used to sell, he was a sales director, head of sales for lighting firms, commercial and kind of domestic as well. And he literally sent an email out saying, my wife's nagging me, I need a holiday, buy some stuff. And that was it.
Perfect.
The headline. And my dad is not a copywriter, he's a bit dyslexic, he's not a natural, he's good in person with words, and he literally was just honest. He just played a bit of humor with it. I mean, that was a very bold one, obviously kind of a warm list, but you'll find that, as I said, this is something I touched on earlier. People are still people. If you are dealing with someone, I mean, most people like to laugh, fuck, be interested in things. We kind of all like eat food. We all kind of like the same stuff. And if you don't like any of those four, just go away, just far away from me, really, really far away. I don't want to deal with people like that. And it is difficult in that market, but I'm now going to segue on to the one. So Stephen Prattley said this, and also Steve Mueller, and we're going to get on some cool stuff. The last question we're going to take for right now. Basically, anything you should stay away from subject-wise, anything that's too far, what should you not do?
Oh, so I got two answers to this. The first is you won't know you've gone too far until you've done it at least once, and most people never go far enough. Second of all, and this isn't my personal experience, so I can't tell you, I've done this or not, but because the two people bore me anyway listening to this stuff. But according to Dan Kennedy in his book, Make Them Laugh, Take Their Money, I think it's called.
Great book. Great book.
Yeah, it's a great book. And he said in all the talks he's ever given, the only two things that are off limits for humor that it hurts his sales is if he talks about Martin Luther King Jr. or JFK. So you do with that information what you want, which makes me want to write an email about both of them in a funny way.
Exactly. I was about to say, why am I going to see this in the next few days?
Yeah, I'll take that challenge because I think, I think maybe the generation he talks to is probably more sensitive to that kind of stuff than the younger one. I'm Gen X. He's definitely baby boomer, so that could have something to do with it. But
yeah, I'd probably say anything involving, let's just say, gross violations of personal space. So anything, let's just say, inappropriate. Definitely, I would say anything involving kids. That's a very, you definitely want to steer clear of that. Religion, politics actually can be very good for polarizing.
That
so
is all on the table.
They are, traditionally people leave them off the table, but are actually really good because.
Hey, hold on. I got a perfect example for you, Dan. You'll get a kick out of this.
Go for it, my friend.
So this chick I've been seeing for like the last few weeks or whatever, she's as far left wing as I am right wing. Okay,
just before you finish that, she will know exactly how long you've been seeing her.
I'm probably already being stalked right now, but like in other words, I don't buy into any of the horse shit she believes in. Okay, I just don't. I don't believe in any of this left-wing nonsense. On the other hand, she thinks I'm full of shit. I can tell you, there's never been a boring conversation between the two of us. When I get bored, because I'm easily bored, especially like girls. Girls easily bore me because I find most of them, just at least ones I've been out here where I live, they're just not whatever. But so I will purposely bring the topics up because I'm bored. And it's amusing and it stimulates everybody's thinking, and it's never a bad thing. You would think that I would already have said I'm done with this girl, but I'm not, because I find it endlessly amusing. So religion and politics, perfect. Bring them up. Don't be afraid of it. Don't insult. I don't think you should go around insulting. There's certain people who will insult people. So I'm not saying to do that, because I think that I don't know. That's just not how I would do it. But you can definitely bring it up, and you shouldn't be afraid of it.
But yeah, so that's kind of our take on that one. Now, infotaining comes from many different ways. Now, I am going to take the lead on this one, Ben. Then I'd love your version, because obviously yours is more print-based. I've been doing a lot on video.
Yeah.
Okay, if you want to be infotaining, think to yourself, okay, what you said earlier, what is going to make someone stop? Okay, so most people, let's just say if you're using social media, and equally, if you're using email or blog, whatever your medium is, okay, you have, if I remember correctly, it's 0.6 of a second. That is the average speed to put your thumb at the bottom of an iPhone and flick up, and you're gone. That's the time you have to catch someone's attention. So the subject line, obviously we know this, Ben, like the headline of a sales letter, that is your real estate. That is the absolute gold where you have to grab people by the fucking balls or ovaries. I don't know how you do that, but just being gender neutral, and get their attention straight away. Now with copy, I'm going to hand that more to Ben in a second because that's his domain. But with videos, okay, so if you see me I am very conscious to look at the images I use, the backgrounds I use, the lighting, what I'm wearing, any props. This may sound a little bit stupid, but my goal, this is something I learned from, you love this, Mr. Settle, I learned this from Mr. Gary Vaynerchuk at Traffic and Conversion last year. We are information traders, okay? So think like a trader in stocks and shares. We have a limited amount of, we're time traders, sorry, that's it, time traders. We have a limited amount of time per day. And my job is to try and take a bit of your time and both entertain and inform you at the same time. So I've got a fraction of a second to grab your attention. So the imagery, the copy I use, what I'm wearing. Okay, I am going to share this with all of you. Some of you know this already. I am now officially known as Lord Daniel John Meredith. I bought a lordship. Why? For fucking entertainment purposes only. Okay? I'm going to be, me and my friends, and you're going to see this, we have spent £700 on a throne. And we're going to deliver content from a throne, and I've got a fucking crown. Okay? Don't need a crown, different things, a king and a lord, fuck it, I want a crown. Okay? Me and Mike Samuels, my writing partner the other day, we bought 2, and I have 0 issues. Whatever you got between your legs, you put it, rub it, wherever the fuck you want. That's your right. But we got 2 camp, gay as fuck hats with Brighton on. Now, Brighton is the equivalent, if you don't know, any Americans or non-UK, it is the kind of gay capital of the UK, where I now reside. And we got these 2 hats covered in flowers. And do you know what we did? We filmed a video for our copy intensive. We literally did an update with these hats on, and we didn't reference it once. Purely for infotainment. So the entertainment is 2 guys with, honestly, the campest hats you could ever see. I mean, I'll post a photo on the thread if you want to see later. They are spectacular. But it's a case of, you know, I'm using pattern interrupts, I'm trying to grab your attention, using props, using scenery, using, you know, there's some Facebook ads I've seen lately where there's people like waving at the camera saying, you know, plug your earphones in, this kind of stuff. My job is to get hold of you for a second and then show you something interesting, tell you something interesting, to add some value to your life. Like your life, okay, I'll make this crystal clear. One day you are going to be dead as fuck. Dead. D-E-D, dead. There is only a finite amount of time you will ever have on this planet. Simple as that. So me asking for some of your time, it's actually quite precious. And when you start to think about other people's time and your own as precious, you'll start to make a lot better decisions with your content and your copy that you put out. Because my philosophy is I'm stealing a bit of your life for you to read this, for you to watch this. I should add value somewhere, whether it just makes you smile, it helps your business, whatever. What do you think of that, Ben? Because that's a very new revelation for me.
No, I think that's brilliant, actually. You know, I think that's.
I
good.
can't have smarts.
Well, you know, for email where you don't well, I at least don't use images at all for various reasons.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the subject line is very important, and I like to just throw things out there that make people go, what the hell? Hold on, you know, like you want time to stop. So and a lot of times I'll throw innuendo in there. So like, let's take the golf market. So I don't want people to think I'm just selling to people who buy. Everybody, oh Ben, all you sell is that. No, I sell in all these different markets. Okay, the golf market. Remember when Tiger Woods went through that scandal? They found he was talking to porn stars and all that. And after that, his golf game really went to shit, especially like his drive and his swing. So I just put the two ideas together. Now, in golf vernacular, the drivers often referred to as the big stick. So I did an email saying Tiger's big stick gets him in trouble. It had like a two-pronged thing to it. And sometimes you could just slip things in there like that, and that could be entertaining. You don't always have to go that way. Like, for example, I've done, what are you wearing as a subject line, which might be a little hair-raising for some people to do that. But, you know, you want to say something that, or here's another example. So one really long-run direct mail control package had the subject line that was sent to people who wanted to lose weight and all that, was get back on that couch. Right? It's like a contradiction. It's like, whoa, hold on, I get back on the couch. You know, so think things that are going to be like a stop sign. You know, Sean D'Souza is really good at this kind of stuff. He teaches a lot of this psychological stuff, and he's like, you want your headline to be like a stop sign, and subject line to be the same thing. So, yeah, it's all the same principles though. However you do it, you're interrupting their mindset, and you're saying stop. Okay. I don't care what you got going on right now. You're going to pay attention to this. You have no choice, and you want to get in that mindset.
I love it. Now, here's some. So I mean, everyone loves a tactic. Oh, tell me the 3 things to improve my business. Oh, go and suck a dick. But seriously, here's some cool stuff that, you know, like if anyone again. So again, do you know what? Let's have the second part of that song.
Wait, hold on. I got one more thing to say about this, because I want to make this. This is so important. This is like the most important part of this whole call, I think. I was just one of the people I studied. His name is Stan Ballou. He's an old school telephone salesman, and he used to go to the other. He used to go to the other salespeople in his office and say, "Can you give me the names of the people that yelled at you and hung up on you?" Right? Because he was so good at this. And what he would do is he would say something that would make them curious. Like his whole thing is curiosity overrides programming. In email, in social media, whatever you're doing, we're all programmed to keep ignoring each other. Ignore that email, ignore that post, or something better. If you make people curious enough, you've overridden that. They cannot not look. So understand curiosity is everything, and the ways that Dan and I are talking about are just ways of doing it. But there's millions of ways to do this. So that's all I wanted to say.
So before we go, I've got the next wave of things we're going to talk about. We're going to come up, but I want to ask you a question again, as before, on the thread. Why are you not being entertaining? What is holding you back? Why are you not sharing stories? Why are you not being humorous? Why are you not being controversial? I want to know why you're not doing the things that we do. And if you are doing them, tell us what works. And me and Ben at the end are going to rip you a new one and then stitch it back up all nice and pretty for you. 1 minute, go.
I'm finally doing it right with this awesome hottie.
You'll love this one, Ben.
She says sweet words to me and is feeling all over my body. When we wake up from that crazy night, I look at you and realize my eyes were not right. That fear makes my brain like she's a big old cow. And when she tries to make a move right now, I say, let's just be friends, let's just be friends. I know that you felt like that night would never end, but you seem so nice, don't want to ruin it with sex. I gotta go now, but don't give me a text. So I run for the hills and can't help but feel hexed. You ladies out there really got me vexed. I'm gonna staple a sign to my face that says I have no interest in being your friend.
Thought you'd approve of the latter part of that song, Benjamin.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know a guy who does not identify. So that's
Sorry.
they need to live more, but whatever. Okay.
So, okay. Everyone loves a tactic. Everyone's reason. There's some great comments about, how do you become entertaining? How do you become more interesting? All that sort of stuff. Now, I've already mentioned, some of the things that I do in the morning to do that. And someone actually said, can you learn to be funny? Now, Ben, you'll probably say, how many people have we met, again, we will never name names, at, let's just say, copywriting conventions, masterminds, events, who are world known or truly glorious at what they do, and you are amazed that they can function in society. They are the weirdest fuckers you've ever seen.
There's many of them, and that is what they tap into that. They don't shy from it. They don't try to suppress it. Like we were talking about that earlier in this webinar. You run with that. If you ever read any Eugene Schwartz, but not his book, he wasn't weird in his book, but if you hear any of his speeches and stuff, you could tell he definitely, he wasn't all just business. I mean, the guy had a freaking personality. Everybody has a personality. You just have to use your personality. Don't try to, remember, you probably didn't hear because you were on a plane at the time, but Tag will remember it. I'm like, you guys got to quit acting like Dan Meredith because everybody's trying to sound like you. It's almost like they're going to start growing beards pretty soon and start, talking in a heavy English accent. No, you got to be you. Be you. There's no other you on this planet. You might as well be you. Don't try to be someone else. That alone will make you stand out, as I like to say, like a fart in the study hall. So
and from a more tactical point of view, now I've used this quite a few times in various things. And it was Stephen King and George R.R. Martin on stage. And George R.R. Martin, only types on his typewriter, proper old school, heavy as fuck thing. And if you've seen him, that boy ain't lifting much or jogging anywhere. He's a big old boy. So, and he only writes from home. But they were talking about, he was kind of ribbing Stephen, saying, you just bang out 5-6 books a year, and he's like, you bang out one every 3 years. It's like, and he was saying, George Martin was saying that he does, 1 or 2 pages a day when the kind of creativity hits him, and that's it. And Stephen's just like, and he just basically starts just taking the piss out of him nicely because it's kind of a kind of round table. And he's like, I get up because I'm at my desk at 9, I leave at 2. He does that every day of the week. His job is a writer. So if you want to be infotaining, it's a really simple one. It's not sexy. You show up every day and you fucking practice. It's that simple. The beautiful thing about an email list or Facebook or YouTube or Snapchat or blogging, whatever the fuck it is Your audience will tell you if you're being infotaining, interesting enough, because you'll see the stats. If you get no likes, 1 like, a comment, you know, a 4% open rate, yeah, probably not very interesting. However, if you're getting likes and shares and comments and things are happening and your click-through rates are going through the wall, it's probably safe to say your audience are connecting with what you have to say. And you can get funny, you can get interesting, it's practice. So when I was a personal trainer, okay, I don't like soccer, football, whatever you want to call it, I'm not a fan of it. I'm not big into finance. I play golf, but I'm not, say, like into it like you are, Ben, for example. But a lot of my clients were. So for me to be interesting to them, I learned the shit that they were interested in. Wasn't a pro at it, but I would, you know, I'd read the Financial Times in the morning. I'd see what was going on in the football world. I'd see what's going on in the news. I'd go to art galleries. I'd read history books. I'd read the news. I just consumed stuff. I was an interesting person. Therefore, I had lots of stories. And I just started doing more things. Like I went out more. I mean, Ben, you know, you like your wine. I mean, you do that. You do a lot of traveling. You know, you do cool Ben stuff. You know, you do your email today and you're good to go. That's it. You've got loads of stuff and loads of time to do. I'm a little idiot. I'm a happy little moron. My life generally involves fish and chips, getting chocolate fudge, boxing, jet skis, literally weird, slightly erotic obsession with jet skis. You know, I do interesting things. I kind of see my job as to curate information. I spend a lot of money on my education. I test things. I do things. I prove that these things work and then kind of give my version of that to my audience. And secondly, it's kind of my job to be interesting. I go and do stuff. I see things. I watch films. I learn from things. I read books. It's not that hard. And it's just, the thing is, anything in the world you can take and put your spin on it. You don't steal it. But, you know, I did a whole series of, I did a live stream about copywriting tactics whilst I was playing Doom. And my housemate at the time recorded it. Playing a computer game, giving advice. Swearing my nuts off because I was getting killed by demons. How simple is that?
Yeah, and here's something else to think about with that. Because, you know, some people are like, well, I'm not interesting. And people who think they're not interesting probably aren't very interesting, and they should probably just quit go get a job, work 9 to 5, carrying reports to your superiors. Okay. No, here's the thing. Get good at what you do, and you'll be interesting. It's the weirdest thing. There's a groupie for everything. Okay, groupies will even go after.
Flat Earth Society. If you ever want to feel, and if any of you are flat earthers on this call, God help you. But if you ever want to feel good about your life choices, just go on Facebook, put in Flat Earth Society, and enjoy. It's wonderful. Also, another one, brilliant. Forgive me for any of you who are religious on there. It's called Christian Mothers Against Masturbation. Set up as a spoof site. People have taken it for real. You can literally giggle your bollocks off, or ovaries, for hours in that. These are infotaining sites. One, because it's a deliberate one. One, unintentionally. And honestly, if you really are, if you're interested in science and physics and facts, you'll find the Real Earth Society very entertaining because it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing on there.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, people are drawn to people who are really good at something, and I'll just leave it at that, because being good at it, you know, there's so many weird fetishes out there. I'm not going into that stuff, but I'm just saying, for example, whoever the best in the world at World of Warcraft is, I guarantee you there's a very good chance that person has people attracted to him. I don't mean like necessarily girls attracted to him, but, you know, fans. They're surrounding that person, wanting to get good.
Do you know what you just said there, just as a little side point? They're millionaires.
Yeah.
Literally. Like, I saw this thing the other day. It was on Netflix, and these kids are between 16 and 20, all multi-millionaires from playing something called Dota, Dawn of the Ancients, which is just this little fantasy fighting thing. Like, they pack out fucking like an arena, like you would see for an American football game, full, watching kids play computer games. That's it. See, if you look at some of the most popular, here's a great case now. We've got a nice little segue there, Ben. Some of the most popular YouTube channels, I can't remember the guy's name, but he's Dutch, I think, or he's a YouTuber, and he makes tens of millions a year. And he films himself playing computer games and his ridiculous reactions to it. Reaction videos are massive on YouTube. That is watching people react to stuff. The original one, I think, was something called Two Girls, One Cup, and you would watch, someone would watch it, and they would record what was happening, but they were recording the reaction of the people watching the video. But this is pure chewing gum for the brain. You aren't even playing the computer game. You aren't even watching the film. You're not even watching the video. You're watching someone else watch it. See, that's it. Like a lot of people, standing up, I'd say leadership, running a business, putting your head above the parapet is quite hard. Okay, it's difficult. Not everyone wants to do it. It is tricky. But PewDiePie, that's his name. Thank you, Anthony Hall. PewDiePie. Sorry, if anyone wants to see that, it's a great concept of infotaining right there. As I said there, so people want to be entertained. People want someone to do the things they don't want to do. Leadership, stepping up, being willing to be yourself, you said that, is really attractive. Why? Because most people want to do it, but they're too afraid to do it. So if you are prepared to stick your head up and say, that's why, you've been very successful, Ben. You're, a young chap, a little bit older than myself. I've been, people say, really successful in a very short space of time because I suddenly just took the brakes up, stopped giving a fuck, started being myself, and I wanted to help people and make them laugh at the same time. That's my, my strap line to my private coaching site is fun and profits. That's it. Have fun, make money. What's fucking wrong with that?
No, nothing. And that's, you brought up another point here. So Doberman Dan Gallipoux, one of my best friends in the marketing world, he had I think it was one of his first podcasts when he started his podcast. And he said, Ben, the reason I love reading your stuff and the reason I think everyone that likes your stuff is not because necessarily of, I'm using some secret copywriting tricks on people, because I'm not. He goes, because you have no governor. Now, a governor, for people who aren't understanding that, is if you rent like a U-Haul truck or a Ryder truck or a moving truck, they put it so that you cannot go over a certain miles per hour. They don't want you going 75 miles per hour with a 26-foot truck, okay? So there's something in there that stops you at a certain speed. Well, you take that off, and you go as fast as you want. So you don't want to have a governor. Now, again, I said earlier, we've talked about things you should, in our opinion, our accurate opinion, you shouldn't be talking about in some ways. But at the same time, don't let things hold you back. If you got something to say, Dan, I have an email going out tomorrow that's going to piss off certain people. I guarantee it. I take on an entire industry of these idiots who call themselves social justice warriors, who I think are the most despicable people on the planet.
The white knights.
God, I can't stand these fucking people. But I have an email just talking about how stupid they are and how people who write emails for a living, you're going to end up butting heads with them eventually. They will try to they'll try to get you fired and all this stuff because they're a bunch of little pussies, and that's the only way they know how to function. And they'll get all Twitter after you and all whatever, and you have to not care, right? Like, that's the idea of it. But I'm not afraid to talk to these people. I'm not afraid to engage with them. In fact, if you have enemies, if you're people that you think are enemies, you should be attacking them. I'm not saying libel and all that. I'm not saying break any laws. I'm not saying to use their name necessarily.
Take a stance.
Take a freaking stand against something that you know is wrong or that you think is wrong, and you're going to piss some people off. You're going to make others happy. Those who get pissed, now here's the interesting thing, Dan. Those who get mad will often stick around to see how much more mad they can get. So the Incredible Hulk writers figured this out in the 1980s when they took it from being a green rampaging monster, made him smaller and gray and smart, he could talk, and all the Green Hulk fans were pissed off. Oh, I'm never reading the Hulk again. And the editors were getting worried, but when the sales figures came in, they found out that sales went up, and the same people who said they were never going to read it again 5 months ago were still writing in saying how angry they were. So you might as well use this to your advantage. Just take a stand, do what you're going to do, and don't worry about people getting mad at you. Let them get mad. Good. You want emotions from people. If you don't get emotions from people, you're not doing your job. Period.
Awesome. Okay, so if any of you have any questions, we've done a good hour and 10 now of content. And Ben, is there anything you want to add, or should we go to some Q&A from what we've got on the thread so far? Because you've got some good ones on there.
Let's do some Q&A.
Cool. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, on my feed, or should be tagged with Ben's as well, put a question if you want on there. We're not taking anything on the GoToWebinar one, so let's just read some. Okay, oh, for the love of God. Right. Do you know there's some people I've conversed with, I'm going to say I'm going to butcher the living shit out of your name. Fotis Zinikalau. Okay, whether or not that's right, that's what you're called for. Do you know what? In the style of American Dad, when Steve went to a refugee camp and he couldn't speak the name of the gentleman, I will call you from now on Hot Rod. So Hot Rod, your question was any copywriting, marketing, any type of resource you believe someone must consume 10 times or more to probably, to kind of get good at it. So the kind of things that me and you would read, watch over and over again. Let's answer Hot Rod.
Absolutely, Hot Rod. So, that sounds like, I want that nickname. So so it's different. First of all, you got to find the teachers that appeal to you the most, because if you're trying to learn something, maybe I like a book. For example, right now I'm reading a book called No. This is the name of it's about negotiation.
That's such a Ben book. No.
It's a great book, and it's by this guy Jim Camp, who's the world's most feared negotiator back when he was alive. This is, to me, and it sucks that I'm just reading this book now for the first time, because this, to me, is the best copywriting book I've ever read, hands down. Everything you need to know about, even though it's not a copywriting book, it's all there. And a lot of stuff that you don't ever learn in a copywriting book. I'm going to read this 10 times. I'm almost done with the first reading. I read Breakthrough Advertising. I think I've read that like 19 times now.
Oh, God, I'm about 6. It's a slog, that one.
It's a slog, but I mean, it took me many years. I've been reading it since 2004, off and on. Same with John Carlton's Kick-Ass Copywriting Secrets of Marketing Rebel. I've considered that so good, I went through it 10 times. Dan Kennedy's Ultimate Sales Letter book, Dan Kennedy's Ultimate Marketing Plan book, Paul Hartunian's Publicity System. Even though it doesn't sound like it has to do with what we're talking about, it's all about that. I mean, it would make you better at all this stuff. But Ken McCarthy's System Club's letter book, I've probably, Gary Halbert's Boron letters. All of these are things I've read. I would much rather read 10 really good products or books 10 times than 100 idiotic, mediocre books once. Just because, the latest guru said you need to read this. The hell with that. You find people that you can't, you don't have time for, your time is gone. Dan, you said you get one life to live and you're going to piss it away and all this stuff. That's wasting time on nonsense, theoretical books just because they're cool right now. Screw that. Go to the old school guys, the guys who built this industry, and study them, not these new, me included. Just forget my stuff. Go to the old school.
Ignore us. Go somewhere else.
I don't even want you to read my stuff. Just unsubscribe now. Screw it. But that's my whole.
What I will say, any books, if you want to learn a really good way of I would say there was I'll read you a great one. I'm just going to get it up off my Kindle now. Books from the likes of, what's the guy that Jack Reacher's not, Lee Child, are really, really good, because he's a phenomenal. I'm going to give you some. I'm going into the Kindle right now. So, fiction books by Lee Child. Lee Child is a really good author because he kind of writes a little bit like a copywriter, and it's kind of short paragraphs. Yeah. It's very punchy.
Bukowski's like that too. Bukowski.
Like I'm reading Women right now.
Women is the best book. Best novel.
Can I just say it? Is it wrong that I really want that to be my life? Sorry.
I'm on my fourth reading now, actually.
Okay, these are some great books for you. One, Sick in the Head, by Judd Apatow. He basically interviewed a load of famous stand-up comics and comedians, and he found out how they became funny. Okay, that's a really, really good book. New book for me, but I'm halfway through it and I've smashed it in. Just some more fiction books. Author called John Niven. He writes some. He's got one called Straight White Male. Ben, if you don't read Straight White Male, is about an alcoholic Irish author who just fucks everyone.
He's great. I think you've told me about that book, actually.
And he's also got a book about golfing called The Amateurs. Again, really easy to read, really good to get you in the flow. I'm just kind of going through a few more here. There's a great guy, John Locke. Now, this is the first ever, I think, millionaire or million-selling, but it's some crazy statistic, Kindle author. This guy worked a sales job. He'd never written before, no formal training, but he basically, he learned how to write in a basically extremely infotaining way. He's got this crazy kind of SAS, not SAS, what's it called, like CIA wet work operative and his bisexual killing assistant. It's insane. But he gets crazy reads. These aren't classics, these are kind of some new ones. I'm just going through all of my, these are all my my great ones. And have you read any of the Johnny Truant stuff as well?
I don't read much fiction. I mean,
Hey,
I,
Johnny Trent is a bit like, so there's a great, so Mark Manson have just got his book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, my book, How to Be Fucking Awesome. You'll notice a theme here. Johnny Truant's a free book called The Universe Doesn't Give a Flying Fuck About You. Absolutely glorious book. These are kind of interesting books that are informative and entertaining at the same
there's
time.
one, there's another one you'll be adding to that list very shortly called Persuasion Secrets of the World's Most
I'm so excited
most
about that.
charismatic and influential villains. You know, there's another kind
Who
of book
writes that, Ben Settle? Who writes that, Benjamin Settle? I know, I
Only-
must find out.
only Ben Settle could write that book. But I'll tell you what, here's another thing that I believe people should be reading, even more than business books and copywriting books and whatever you're trying to learn. And that is the biographies of great people. I learned so much out of reading, for example, Steve McQueen's biography was one of the best business books ever. It had nothing to do with business.
I'm
But
two-thirds of the way through Winston Churchill's right now. Massive fan of biographies.
Any kind of great thinker, like Churchill, anyone who makes really good decisions and who got good at what they're doing, there's one, you'll never get this stuff in another guru book. You know what I mean? Like, this is stuff, hard-won knowledge. General Douglas MacArthur's another one. I was just reading Humphrey Bogart's biography. These are
Hemingway's is a great one. If you want to, he's the most manly man ever. I love him.
And look, you know, he didn't get to be Hemingway by not doing great things. That's my whole point. And Donald Trump stuff. You don't have to like Trump to get a lot of freaking stuff out of his books. I can just tell you. I don't even like the guy that much, but I can tell you right now, he's the winner. You know, I mean, why am I not going to learn from what he's doing? Oh, because he butchers a word or two? He gives a flying rat's ass. You know what I mean? People who focus on that are like, these are the people reading the latest guru guide to making more money on the internet, while people like me and Dan are reading stuff to enlighten and enlarge in our minds and to get exposed to different ways of thinking, because that's how creativity really happens.
It is. Okay, here we go. It's another question. I was honestly, I was looking at memes. Hold on. Sorry, everyone. I'm so easily distracted.
Oh wait, and Dan, let's not forget the Enoch Wars horror books.
Oh yeah, this is Zombie Cop. That's quite good.
Zombie Cop.
Okay, so when you guys are trying to write, this is from Anthony Hall, when you guys are trying to write from other people and you're doing the interview to get an idea of how they talk, do you have just a normal conversation, or do you go deep into the subject matter, or both? This is kind of like a little more of a deeper copywriting message, I would say.
Yeah, I think you should get as deep as, like, go deep. Don't do the okay, so I mentioned Stan Blue earlier, okay? One of my favorite sales trainings ever. I'm listening to it now, actually. I walked down to my office today. Is an interview he did with Michael Senoff. Now, in my opinion, which makes it a fact, basically, Michael Senoff is the world's best interviewer for getting stuff out of people. I don't know how, like, he's been doing it. He's been doing podcasting since before the word podcasting was even coined. And he was doing interviews with great people. And his secret is he asked these people, tell me 10 stories about, you know, here's a topic, tell me a story about that. That's how you get the best stuff out of people. And you don't censor them. You don't interrupt them. You just let them talk. They'll go deep. They'll go shallow. You're going to get so much stuff like that out of somebody. They'll write the copy for you, basically, if you're doing that for a client.
There you go. Simple. And I'll say that on a tactical point of view. I did this in my copywriting training recently. One of the best ways you can get, honestly, if you are what I call efficient, also known as lazy copywriter, which I wholeheartedly recommend you do. Interview your ideal audience who've maybe gone through that pain point, had it resolved, and just interview them. Talk to them. Learn how to be a good interviewer. Learn how to ask questions. They will give you some of the best headlines and hooks and ideas for products you will ever get. One of my most highest converting sales pages I ever did, which was for a client, which was based off when I was a personal trainer, I into this, when we did the chat at the start, and I said to her, what do you want? And she goes, and I kind of changed it a bit. She says, do you know what I want, Dan? Is I want to look in the mirror and not hate myself anymore. I was like, fucking hell. But I used a variation of that for this headline, and it crushed it.
And what does that do? You're actually using this goes into David Garfinkel territory. That's why I learned this. Who taught me what I'm about to say? Even though it sounds so simple and obvious, I mean, most people don't do this. Because it's not just about talking about the problem. It's about using the words that the prospect uses to describe that problem. And by interviewing them, you're getting their exact wording. Like I'm guessing, Dan, you could not have figured that headline out on your own. Like it had to
No,
come from the market.
and it stuck with me because as a, she's a woman, as a man, she had 2 kids, recently just got married, recently engaged, about to be married, wedding was coming up, all this kind of, very emotional stuff. But I'd never had anyone admit to me that they just looked at the mirror and hated themselves. Not hated what they saw, hated themselves. And I was
And
like,
that's that's
fucking
what I'm
hell.
saying. That's what I'm saying though. Like a copywriter can't think that up. The market will tell you the best headlines. Like you don't have to struggle for headlines. Just do what you just said. Just talk to the market. They will give you your headlines.
Okay, ladies and gents, so I've got one more thing I'm going to wrap up. If you have any more questions, now is the time to post them on the thread because me and Ben have given you more than enough glorious stuff here. But main thing I want to say is infotainment shouldn't be a challenge. So the whole reason, we said this at the start, and it was kind of the subject line for the training today is, entertain, amuse, whatever your potential customers until they buy from you. If you continually show up in someone's life, and I just did this on my mastermind, consistency, showing up every day is key. There is a reason a daily email works. There's a reason me showing up on Facebook every day works. I'm about to do a new challenge soon, Ben, which is going to absolutely buttfuck me, which is 30 days of, I'm doing a podcast every morning, live stream every lunchtime. I'm going to do an email every mid-afternoon, just when I write my best copy, and there's something else I'm going to do as well, and then obviously a Facebook post every night. So 4 bespoke pieces of content, 4 times a day, 4 different platforms.
I bet your income goes up dramatically as a result.
Yeah, my sanity will disappear, but that's okay. But what I'm trying to say is showing up every day. Like, if I was to bump into any one of you listening right now, I could have a conversation with you, and we could talk all day about, and we could wax lyrical about different subjects. And that's the thing. You just want to have, it's that old copywriting adage, you just want to have a conversation when you're doing your videos, your live streams, you're writing your copy, you're writing your emails, you're doing your memes, whatever it is, you're having with one person, you're trying to connect with one person. If you don't have, okay, this will be difficult for you if you've never managed to have sex with another human being, if you've never had a friend, if you've never had a relationship, if you've never got a job, if you've never spoken to anyone for more than 3 words. What we've said to you is going to be a challenge. But if you've managed to make another human being be naked in front of you at least once in your life, you have the ability to charm, entertain, make smile, and make someone like you. It's not that fucking hard. Over to you, Benjamin. Sorry, my little ranty wrap up there. Sorry.
No, I'll just say what Dan said. I think that ends that that wraps it up pretty good actually.
Listen, well, everyone who's been listening, whether you are listening with us live now, thank you very much for your time. Obviously, this is going to go out to everyone in Espresso Down. This is also going to go out to everyone in email players. So for those of you who have not heard me before, Ben said I could say the words that I say, and I'm being me. This is how I infotain. Ben, little words to my Espresso people, and then we will say goodnight.
Yeah, don't let fear hold you back from doing this, because I would suspect most of the people listening to this who have been struggling with like how to be entertaining and infotaining, they're afraid. They're just afraid of what's going to happen. You have to do it once to realize, it's like anything, you have to do it to realize it's not going to kill you, okay? When I was a little kid, like I think I was 5 years old, my mom took me to swimming lessons, and when it came time to do the diving board, I got scared, and I literally scaled the fence, 5 years old, trying to get out. I was so scared. They threw me in there. I don't know if I was 5 or I must have been at least 5 or 6. They threw me in there. I loved it. And then I couldn't get enough of the diving board after that. And that's how it is with this. When you start doing this, it becomes fun. You love it. It's hair-raising at first, but then you're like, gosh, this is fun. I cannot not do this. And once you get to that point, it's game over. You're going to be as successful as you want because you're going to love doing it.
It is addictive. And I'll say, I learned this from We're the Millers, and it's a really simple, he calls it, it was when the Ed Helms, I think was the main character, was talking to the young lad in it, and he was nervous about asking a girl out. He wanted to go talk to her, and he didn't do it. And he called it the 3-second rule, and I've loved this ever since I've heard it. Realistically, he said you've got about 3 seconds to talk yourself out of whatever you're going to do. Okay, so if there's something you want to do, something you want to say, something you want to live stream, something you want to send on an email, don't think, just fucking do it. Ladies and gentlemen, that's enough from me and Ben. Good night, everyone. Ben, good night to you, sir.
Good night to you.
Bye-bye.